Everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. Today we are here again with Charles Garfield, who's been one of our favorite guests here on Fired Up with CJ. And we're talking about his most recent book, Our Wisdom Years, Growing Older with Joy, Fulfillment, Resilience, and No Regrets. Can you hold up the cover?
Here it is.
Yay! Congratulations. Tell me a little bit about how you decided to write this book.
Well, I discovered that I was getting older and that things were changing. Things were not the same as they were when I was a younger adult.
hmm
And I wanted to really get a sense of what those changes were about. Most people try to proceed as if everything's the same, but they're not. Things are not the same. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to write a book that was user friendly, that people could understand, that I could benefit from myself. And it seems to have worked. The response to the book has been absolutely amazing.
Excellent. So tell me about the changes that you notice in yourself and the um, insights that you got from the process of writing it.
Well, you live in a country like ours, and you're a younger adult, and all you hear about is getting ahead and being a success and climbing the ladder and doing well. And it's all about achievement and performance. As I got older, I realized that those things didn't grab me the same way.
Hmm.
Started interviewing other older people. And when I say older, I don't mean extremely old. It starts at midlife. It can start in your 40s. But certainly by the time people get to be late 50s, early 60s, the same pull that was very obvious when you were younger about getting ahead and doing well in those ways was not there anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know what replaced it.
Mm-hmm.
What kinds of things would be motivating now for
Mm-hmm.
older people?
Mm-hmm.
Really was quite different than everything that I anticipated.
So what motivates old people? If it's not getting ahead, then what is it?
Well, it's about creativity. It's
Mm-hmm.
about being your best self. They
Mm-hmm.
talked about two things. Older people talk about two things if you ask them what really is most important to you now at this stage of your life. They talk about love. They talk about people they love and who love them. Close relationships are very important. And
Mm-hmm.
second, they talk about service. They talk about work that made a difference, not so much they're getting ahead, but the impact on other people,
Mm-hmm.
being able to serve other people and do it well. They talked about love and work in that way, and it was really heartwarming to hear.
Mm-hmm. And so, were you feeling those same things? So when you heard those things, it was reaffirming, or were they kind of, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that already.
No, they were reaffirming. They
Mm,
definitely they definitely gave voice to what I was experiencing myself.
mm,
And it was a strong drive. It was like the drive. It felt as powerful as the drive earlier to get ahead, except it was in a different direction. It had
mm,
making sure that my relationships were in good shape, that my closest relationships were cared for well, that
mm,
that the work I did served other people,
mm,
and those were powerful motivators. They still are.
mm. So what about, so you said close relationships are my relationships good? And I assume this relates to your living with no regrets, because when we usually regret it's partially in a relationship part. What were the things that you heard about what people wanted with respect to close relationships?
Well, they wanted to be with people and spend more quality time.
Mm,
They wanted to be with people that they cared about. And earlier in their lives, they'd said, I was so busy, I had no time for my relationships. Even
mm,
my closest relationships, I barely had time for. That my kids complained that I was never there. My spouse or my partner complained that I never wanted to do anything with them, that I rarely was available to them. And
mm,
now that became center stage. That
mm,
that replaced achievement. Relationships replaced achievement.
mm. And what if It's that you remember that old Cat Stevens song, "Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon." So it's this guy who's working, didn't have enough time for his kids, and then when he gets older, he's looking for times with his kid, and his kid's like, "I don't have time for you." What kind of advice do you have for people who would like to have close relationships? They may have not been able to, for whatever reason, spend as much time with their children and loved ones, and they figured out the relationships that matter. They want to invest, but now those people are busy.
Well, those people may be busy, but you can let them know, especially in your close relationships. I reached out to all those people who mattered most to me, and I let them know that things were different for me now, that I had a lot more time. And
Mm,
if they also had enough time, I'd like to get together more often. I'd like to make contact more often. Even during these very rough times that we're going through now, you can still make contact the way you and I are doing right now.
mm-hmm,
You can make contact on the internet. You can make contact by phone. You can write letters the way people did in the old days.
mm-hmm,
You can drop notes to people. You can let
mm-hmm,
them know that they really matter to you.
mm. You know, I have a friend that I just recently met, and she taught me, Robin, you're out there. If you're out there, please hear what you've taught me. And one of the things, I'm 57, and what she taught me was saying to someone, I really appreciate spending time with you. I get so much out of our interactions. Let's do it again. She said that to me, and I can't tell you how important that was for me to hear, and how how I felt the same way. And just saying those words of, I really, like, I just got off the phone with a friend of mine, and I said, one of the best things about COVID is that um, meeting you and becoming closer to you and having you become a friend. It's one of my, joys of COVID, which it really is. But we often don't say those things, so it's not even regret. It's also gratitude, or I don't even know how to explain it.
Oh, no, but it's something that's very real for a lot of us. It's given us a time since we're home and we're stuck at home so much. It's given us time to think about what matters most and
Hmm.
reaching out to other people. It's a lot of what I wrote about in the book. It's frequently
Mm,
what's on people's minds right now. Who
yeah.
matters most to me, especially older people?
Hmm. And what do you do for those people who correspondingly, I would say that people's risk profiles and their survival instincts are actually kicking in play. And there's some people that it's hard for me to be around, and some people that it's like joyful to be around. How do you balance both the challenge of wanting to be there with your friends but not being able to take it yourself, or not wanting to be with your friends and saying, not for me right now?
Well, you write out who you want to reach out to, and then you make that effort and you see what response you get. And if the responses are good, like it was in the example that you offered, then you pursue it more. If the responses are lukewarm or not all that heartwarming, you try again. And I tried 3 times with people.
Hmm.
And if I don't get the response that I want, I'll still keep them in mind. I'll still write occasionally. I'll still make contact occasionally, but I won't assume that it's going to be one of those heartwarming, close relationships.
Hmm.
Don't give up on people initially. Think of how many relationships in our lives started out mediocre, started out not all that well, but turned out to be really important later on. Don't give up on people just because it doesn't work out beautifully initially.
Mm-hmm. Got it. All right. So we've just talked about one of the things that you found about close relationships and the importance when we get older. I'm going to break this into 3 segments. So in the next segment, we're going to be talking about service impact, and then creativity as some other areas that you covered in your book. I assume we've already covered love. Is that right? Because you said love and close relationships. Is there anything else more before we wrap up this that you want to say about love?
Don't be afraid to speak from the heart. Don't be
Hmm.
afraid to speak from the heart to people and tell them how much they matter to you.
Hmm.
The last thing you want is to to get to your end, to get to your deathbed and realize you never said what you wanted to say. The I love yous that always mattered most.
Mm. And what can you say for people who, I've talked to my mom throughout this COVID thing, and I can tell that her abilities are degenerating just because she's at home. I can't come up to see her. She's in Canada. There are all these kinds of things where old people are isolated right now. What is your advice with respect to that and having close relationships? How can you do that in the world of COVID?
Well, you reach out in whatever way you can. Writing letters to somebody who grew up in a time of letter writing, perhaps like your mom, turn out to be very important because they can read it over again. They can
Mm,
they can read those letters in their own private time. And I know when my parents got old, I wrote letters to them because they really valued letter writing. They grew up in a time when letters were really central, unlike now, and it really mattered a great deal to them. I would suggest writing letters to your mom. Just you can write one a week if you don't have the time or inclination, but make sure you write from the heart. Say
mm,
all those things you most want to say. Don't be afraid just because the relationship didn't allow it previously.
mm,
You be
mm,
the parent now. You be the one who takes the lead now.
I love it. All right, we've been talking to Charles Garfield, who is talking about his book. Would you hold your beautiful book up again?
Absolutely.
Our Wisdom Years. Growing older with joy, fulfillment, resilience, and no regrets. And in the next segment, we're going to be talking about creativity and being your best self, as well as service impact and what those things mean. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.